All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. It is the first time in 2024 coming to you live on January 3rd from the Base Boys World Headquarters. Mike, glad to have you in studio today.
Oh, yeah. Base Boys World Headquarters. We're expanding. We are about to go galactic, so prepare yourselves.
Like intergalactic space federation level? Like,
Yes.
Is that how far we're going?
Our one of our hosts, Sean, he would probably disagree with us in intergalactic federations because he doesn't necessarily believe in space. But we are going to where no man has been before.
Well, we are going fully galactic. I love it. That is a great way to put it. We want to challenge the narrative and win a culture war. We're in the midst of what could be a civil war someday in this country, but it's quite an uphill battle that we face as good old, what do we call ourselves? The good old boys?
The good old boys.
But as good, faithful Americans, people that love America and people that want to end the rampant corruption, you got to put up a fight. Freedom isn't free, and that's why we've come to the airwaves to share our mind, have some thought-provoking discussions, and ultimately maybe have the DOJ come after us, because that's what it seems like in this space that we're in. When conservative, Republican, white Christians are being attacked by the administrations and the intelligence agencies, and that's kind of just what comes with it, you know. So that's what's to be expected.
It is. And I think that you don't receive any flack until you're over the target, right? The way that you can tell that you're actually fighting back and doing the work that needs to be done to restore America is when America's enemies come for you. And so when we have all these institutions that call us domestic terrorists coming after us, then we know they're actually over the target and we're going after the people who need to be gone after. It's kind of the same thing with what we're seeing with the whole Epstein case coming out right now. There's so much disinformation and misinformation. Everyone's talking about how wild it is and how it's a lot of it's fake news. But the reason why there's so much confusion and why they're trying to confuse us so much on this subject is because we're over the target. We're over the people who need to be gone after. So I think we need to just keep going. Base Boys is not going to stop. We're going to go after the real enemies of America, and we're going to get things done.
Yeah, and it's 2024. 2024. I feels like 2020 was just yesterday. I cannot believe it's 4 years removed from one of the biggest life-changing moments for this country. You know, I think we're going to be in for quite a year. They're going to do everything to take Trump off the ballot. Order's just going to keep coming off. You're going to keep people, migrants, not migrants. It should just be called an invasion. It is what it is. And I don't think it's going to get any worse or any better, to say the least.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not going to get better. If we don't have a complete regime change and a complete transition to a pro-America government, we can't see change because where would the change come from? Biden? Gavin Newsom? Michelle Obama? Would any of these people reverse the course that we're going on, or would they just pump the brakes a little bit? That's one of the biggest things that we see in DC is they pump the brakes just enough for us to go, oh, thank God. Instead of 10 million migrants in 3 years, it's only, 7 million. Oh, that's a good thing they're doing a little bit to help the situation. Oh, thank God. Inflation went from 9% to 7%. Oh, it's so much better. It's still at 7%. Still at 5%. It's still so high. And that's one of the biggest lies. That's why so much thing is fake and gay, is because they tell us, hey, we fixed the problem. No, they just pumped the brakes a little bit. But the problem's still there.
It's not going away unless we do something and we challenge it.
Things crash. Two crashes. You can crash up, you can crash down. Both are equally as bad, but maybe crashing up is worse because our money then becomes worthless. My second prediction is about the election. I think we're going to see a hard-fought battle for the election. And I think that the Democrats, I'm not going to make up too many predictions on if Donald Trump will win or not, because of course he's going to win. Who is he running against? He's running against the guy who already lost in 2020. because our elections are also fake and gay. Um,
Just
uh,
like space.
just like space, but we're still going intergalactic. So, um, I think the plan, and I hope that we can fight back against it, is all of our elections, right? All of our elections are fake. Do you remember when we covered the Kentucky election and down ballot every single Republican won except for the governor, which was very, very strange? It was a weird occurrence. That's like, isn't that the first time that's ever happened? We're down ballot every single candidate won that was Republican except for the incumbent who won by a massive margin, even though everything else lost. That's just a little aside. Not enough people have woken up to the fact that our elections are completely stolen and completely fake and that we don't actually have a say in our electoral process. And I hope that 2024 people will wake up to it, because when they start seeing, the caucus system, what is this about a private entity being able to take a person off of their ballot? That's weird. I want people to be able to wake up and say, hey, why is our elections being run by private institutions and then counted by another private institution? Not gonna name any names because I don't need a $700 million lawsuit hidden base boys door. But if they do, go after Zane. Um, um, and my prediction for the election is that through lawfare and through trying to exhaust every single means that they can, they're gonna try to get Donald Trump taken off. And even if he does win the important states, I do think that they're going to claim foul play because he didn't get as many. He didn't have a million votes from Colorado or from Maine or from any other of the states that they're trying to get him off of the ballot. And so I do think the play is just to keep him tied up in court so that he can't fight, and then they decide for you. Remember 2020, when they said Biden won, Donald Trump lost. And then we said, like, wait a second, this isn't real though. Like, how are we gonna fix this? What's the means? And then every single state pushed it forward. They sent their their electorates to DC, and we're like, no, these are not the electorates that we want. These our elections were stolen from us, and there was no means to stop them because the attorney generals didn't do shit. The government didn't do shit. The people, but despite January 6th, didn't do shit. No one stood up for America. No one stood up and said, wait a second, all this is fake and gay. And that's my prediction, is that they believe that, this is my prediction as well, that the left thinks that we're so impotent and that we've been cucked out in so many ways that they're just going to take it from us again, and Americans won't stand up and say, screw you, we are not going to back down this time. You can't intimidate us with the FBI knocking on our door saying, were you protesting at January 6th? I want Americans to be a little stronger than that, but I don't know if they are yet.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it accurately, man. I think they're going to throw lawfare at Donald Trump every way possible. They did it for 8 years currently, and I don't think it's going to be successful though. I think the Supreme Court's going to stand up to this case with Colorado and Maine trying to take them off the ballot. You already see the ridiculousness of this Maine Secretary of State, Sheeny or whatever. Not Sheeny.
Is
I
it
don't.
truth that she got removed?
No, but they're trying to remove her, and she's gawking at it like, why you're trying to remove me? It's like, well, you're trying to remove Trump. It's unconstitutional. But I don't think they're really going to do anything. I think it's the PR distraction that they use to take normies and unawake people, and utilize that whole lawfare to make someone think differently. But really, I think what's going to be implemented is what we call the Hegelian dialectic. It's the problem, reaction, solution. They did it phenomenally with COVID, whether it was planned or not. It's a discussion for another show. COVID, they utilized COVID so well, pushing the mail-in ballots and do all kinds of illegal things off the backs of a pandemic. So I think they could probably push something to the likes of that. Now, I can't pinpoint what it is. I don't know. But that is what we are living. It's the Hegelian dialectic, the problem, reaction, solution. Provide you a problem, you have a reaction, It's a negative reaction, and then we're going to provide you with a positive solution. Maybe some sort of cyber attack, cyber security. I know it's hard to take down the entire grid, take down everything at once, but it's not that hard to manipulate certain things for particular outcomes. So just keep your eyes peeled and have good discernment on what you're reading.
Okay, so what's your prediction with the cyber attack narrative? Because that narrative is being drummed hard. I'm seeing that everywhere. Obamas are producing films about it. CNN is even talking about cyber attacks. Do you think that's going to play a role in the elections?
Who's to say? I mean, we all see the Hollywood. Usually look at Hollywood and you can kind of maybe tell border crossings, and this is just documented. I mean, you can't imagine how many of them are undocumented and how many people are coming across that aren't uh, being a part of those numbers. 300,000, that's insane amount of numbers, because I believe 12,000 was the average um, at crossings. And I don't even know the numbers, but it was 300,000 in the month of December. That's a lot of people, and it's growing, and we're on track to be over I think 12 to 13 million by election time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's one of my things I say all the time is I do think that the play that they're moving is because no one's gonna fall for COVID again. They tried with white lung. Where did that go? It went nowhere. They tried it with RSV. They try to say, oh, this is a triple threat: RSV, white lung, and COVID. I think that that's gonna be played out. No one's gonna fall for it. So I do think that a migrant crisis might be the perfect thing that they need to say, hey, we've got so much stuff going on, Americans in distress, martial law, or something like that. Maybe there's giant riots in the streets. Just imagine what 10 million women and children only, really. Imagine what 10 million military age men could do to America. There's a lot of people from a lot of foreign countries that we don't know who they are. Let's just say it's a million. Let's say a million people from all over the world snuck into America and are ready to wreak havoc on the American infrastructure, ready to wreak havoc by burning down buildings. It could be 2020 Summer of Love times 100 if that's really what's going to happen. They could call martial law and instant cancel the elections. That could be something that happens, because imagine if there's that much violence in the street and there is some type of uprising from the millions of illegal immigrants, the undocumented travelers, really. Um, Imagine if they start going crazy. The people in America would be calling for the government to crack down hard, to do something, call martial law. Remember when they were calling for Donald Trump to call martial law just because of the riots in 2020? Imagine how much worse it would be if it was foreign nationals going out and killing, robbing, raping, stealing every single thing that's in America. It could get worse. And in my opinion, it might just very well get worse in 2024.
Yeah, no, they're coming to the suburbs. They ain't going to the city. They're coming to the suburbs if that's the case. But we don't have any trust in the institutions. I mean, you look at Alejandro Mayorkas, the DHS head of the DHS, Department of Human Services, doesn't really do anything. And he goes on TV and he gaslights you, and he tells you that we're working on the border security. He's been in Senate hearings saying that the border is secure and we don't have any issues. But let's play this MSNBC clip to see what he's currently saying about our lovely border.
Process more migrants entering the United States illegally than any month in the history of that agency. Why is that happening? How do you explain it?
So we are seeing the greatest number of displaced people, not only at our southern border, not only in the Western Hemisphere, but across the globe. I am involved in bilateral and multilateral meetings with my counterparts from foreign countries in Europe, in Asia, the Indo-Pacific, all over the world.
Okay, let's pause for a second. All over the world, what other country is seeing millions of people coming across currently? I mean, and who is it being facilitated by is the better question.
That is a good question. I think we know the answer to that one because they're definitely not sneaking into China or Russia. They're definitely not sneaking. Oh, yeah. Actually, I will give him Europe.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's where I was going with this. Is Europe is they've already done it. You know, Europe's already kind of finished their and still continuing to take the migrants into their sanctuary cities. But yeah, it's not happening, and he just kind of brushes the question off and he puts it off. Well, the rest of the world, it's not just us. It's a huge growing crisis.
In migration, the challenge of displaced people is a subject that comes up in every single conversation. We have the effects of climate change, poverty, increasing level of authoritarianism, the very many challenges that are at the root cause of the displacement of.
Definitely climate change.
I was going to say the same thing. Climate change. Don't you hate the climate change? It's responsible for everything.
Everything goes back to climate change. It's like their religion at this point.
All hail climate change. Okay, climate change. I think you're right. It is a religion for them, and they have to almost worship at the altar of climate change for almost every single thing that they do. Oh, we need to start taking in more immigrants. Why? Climate change. We need to tax you more. Why? Climate change. We can't release Jeffrey Epstein's client list. Why? Climate change.
We can't have an election. Climate change.
It could be a climate change crisis. So then Donald Trump is not allowed to. I don't know. Biden has to stay in office because he calls national emergency. Climate change is so bad because we had just had the one of the most mild summers on history, and also our winters.
And there's no ice cream for Joe Biden to go around.
Oh yeah,
All melted. Global warming is melting his ice cream.
Now that's a tragedy when he doesn't have any ice cream. So climate change is a giant hoax, and I'm gonna quote the great everything that we see. This is sent to us by the RNC. All of that is planned. All of this is pre-recorded, planned out, and it is shown to us as the American people going like, oh yeah. We love the RNC because they're gonna do something. When are they gonna do something? When are they going to actually make a move? They could have done a citizen's arrest for all those people. They could have detained all those people. Do you know how many federal agents are there with them protecting them? A lot. They all have a federal detail. That guy in the cowboy hat, that's a sheriff right there. He could do a citizen's arrest right there, or it wouldn't even be a citizen's arrest. But this is a giant photo op, and everyone in this sphere is lying to you. Everyone is lying to you. They're not doing anything. Why? Because it is not politically advantageous for them to do anything. We could have had the border wall. Why didn't we have the border wall? Because they don't want the border wall. Here's the thing. It comes down to basic economics. Americans' economy needs to keep growing. And so in order for them to keep Americans' economy growing, they need cheap labor. So when labor costs finally started going up and the minimum wage was about to go up above 7%, what do we have? A massive influx of migrants to take all the jobs for the cheap. That is the reason why these people are coming here to steal American jobs, and our own government's allowing it to happen. I want to see Mike Johnson, I want to see all the other congressmen make minimum wage, because that is what they're doing to the American people. They're stealing their future, they're stealing their rights, and they're stealing their liberties, and they're standing there for a photo op watching it happen, doing nothing.
Well, we only have, I think, one Republican that's currently doing anything, and that would be Thomas Massey. Him and one of his other colleagues, I believe it might be Warren Davidson. Yeah, Warren Davidson. They are trying to add an amendment to the Constitution. Currently, congressional districts are apportioned to states, apportioned to states based on the population of citizens and non-citizens, which gives states the numerous illegal aliens an advantage in Congress and in the Electoral College.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. Currently, congressional districts are apportioned to states based on the population of citizens and non-citizens, which gives the states numerous illegal aliens and an advantage in Congress and in the Electoral College.
So the point that I want to go over with you guys on this one is that it doesn't matter how many citizens you have. It matters how many people are there. So you can fill California with hundreds and thousands and millions even of illegal immigrants, and they get more votes because of it. Yeah, they may not be able to vote in congressional elections, but they still get more power and more sway over every other state in the union because they're accepting so many people. That's one of the reasons why they want so many more migrants to all these people. That's one of the reasons, like, I'm from a sanctuary state. I'm from a sanctuary city. I see the devastation that it causes. I see the massive amount of subsidies that is given. We went over before about how California is now giving Medi-Cal to all of the illegal aliens. Medi-Cal you have to pay into, right? It's kind of like Social Security. They're getting it without paying into it and not paying the taxes that are associated with it. I have to pay for Medi-Cal. I'm paying for it. Imagine if you are getting Social Security and then you've been paying it to your whole life, and some person who comes here for the first time also gets that Social Security. It isn't fair because you've been paying for that your whole life. Your payroll, it's taken out of your payroll. And now you have to share it with some non-citizen who's been and never had to pay for it their life. In the same way, we've already seen that the government's paying for their hotels. They're paying for their food. They have a per diem. How much of that comes out of your taxpayer money? How much labor do you have to give every single year in order to pay for this nonsense that goes on? But at least he got a photo op. At least Mike Johnson? He got to look good in front of the camera and say, "Oh, I care. Look at me. I care." That's what is sick with America. We have people like that who do nothing. And that's one of the reasons I like Thomas Massey.
He's doing something. And you said at the beginning of the show is could the illegal immigration or the border invasion have any influence on our election? And we see Thomas Massey taking action and taking resolutions, rightfully so. He's one of the few that actually stand up anymore to, serving our constitutional republic, rightfully so. So we love it, but man, it's getting out of hand. So we have this infographic. I wanted to share this. This came out a little bit last week, and this is crazy to me. So currently we have
with immigrants coming in higher than our own replacement numbers.
Yeah, and not only are they coming across at a higher rate than American children are being born, they're also taking our freaking healthcare. They're taking away our right to the healthcare that we pay into via taxpayer dollars. Now, you're from California. You mentioned Medi-Cal a few moments ago. California is going to become the first state to offer health insurance to all undocumented immigrants. About 700,000 adults between ages 26 and 49 will be eligible as of January 1st. Now, Micah, you did just turn 26.
That I did.
Just go to California, and you don't have to prove anything. Just say you're legal.
Hola.
You get your free healthcare.
I could get free healthcare if I basically. Oh man, that's pissing me off. Okay, so I have to pay for an exorbitant amount for healthcare, and all I have to do is just not be a citizen and live in California, and I can get it. Oh man, we use this term a lot on the show, but we're being cuckolded. We're watching someone else get what's rightfully ours, but at the same time, we have to pay for it. We have to suffer for it. We have to work how many hours a week, how many hours a month in order to afford healthcare, because healthcare is rising. It's one of the fastest inflating things in America right now. Inflation, that's one of the reasons why they don't have healthcare in the CPI, is because inflation would be at like 30% if they included it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like going into a house party that you're not even supposed to be at. And you go in there and you take all the punch, you drink all the beer, you take all the food, and then,
and then sleep on the couch forever.
And then just sleep on the couch, sleep in the street, rape a couple people, be lost and confused, and yeah, that's about what it is at this point. And we don't have a country at this point. If that's the case, and this continues to grow, because we're giving them health insurance, what else are we going to continue to give them? I mean, next thing is homes. I mean, giving them living spaces, like high quality living spaces. I mean, I don't really know.
We already see that with what New York has done with paying for their housing in hotels. We already pay for their living. It's just,
Mhm.
where does it end? When we have we give them first health care, we're also paying for this whole operation, because when the United States government is actually sending them different places and shipping all over America, deep into the heartland of America, we're the ones paying for that. We're the ones footing the bill. We're the ones enabling this because our own government has turned against us. Our own government uses our resources and ships them not just to Israel and Ukraine, but ships them to America, to non-residents, to non-citizens. This is something that's kind of interesting. Is tax season's coming up, right? Tax season is going to be a not fun time for any of us. I'm definitely not getting a refund. I paid too much in taxes, but I'm still registered in California, so I'm gonna still be paying California tax. So that 9% state tax and the 30 something percent federal tax, it's gonna hit hard, and I am going to be paying a lot in taxes. And the problem is, all of that money doesn't actually help me one bit. I pay for a system that continuously lets me down and pays for things that are against my own interest. You can probably come up with a good analogy on that one. That's like paying for the gun that the robber is going to use against you. That's like paying for the baseball bat that the mob is going to use on your kneecaps. It's almost ridiculous. And if someone from outer space, which isn't real, came to America and said, "Why do you guys pay all these taxes?" and they hurt you instead, you'd be like, "Well, you see, that's the way that our republic is set up. We're basically paying for a protection racket where they break our windows and break our knees if we don't pay them."
Well, what America is we are just uh, one big case of I believe I'm saying this right, Munchausen by proxy syndrome. Do you know what this is, Micah? Okay, so basically what it is like you have a captor or whatever. They like lie to you. There's a lady named Gypsy Rose. She's like just got out of prison or whatever, but she basically was held captive by her mother that told her she was sick for many years. She told her that she was like 10 years old when she was actually like 25. Fed her all these medications, fed her like all these things she didn't need. Told her she couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair and she believed it, and none of it was ever true. That is the world we live in. We live in a world where the American people are all captured by that disease, and we literally just let it happen, and we don't understand our true potential. You know, that's why we've got to waken up the inner spirituality of people and understand that you're being duped. You're being taken advantage of and lied to.
Okay. So Munchausen disorder. Okay, I see what you mean now. It's where they convince us that we're sick, and that we need them in order to survive.
Race. Stop discriminating on the basis of race. Do that, and we're going to move this country forward. And I don't care whether you're black or white or brown or anything in between. That's how we're going to unite this country. You people have been responsible for dividing this country to a breaking point, creating a projection of national division. I meet people from the south side of Chicago to meetings like this one of every shade of melanin, multiple, from man to woman, doesn't make a difference, who are hungry for reviving unity in this country. And you, with your catechism that you try to get to politicians to whatever fake headline you're going to print on the basis of this conversation tomorrow, that's what's dividing this country to a breaking point. Shame on you. Look people in the eye and tell them what you've actually failed to tell them for the last 5 years. Own the accountability for your own failures as the media. That's how we rebuild trust in this country. And until then, I don't have a lot of patience to play the games.
I think that reporter got her question answered.
I think that the American people got a better answer, because we're all sick and tired of this. Oh, isn't white supremacy the worst thing to ever happen to America in the last 3 years? You're like, well, I think inflation's a little bit worse than the made up racism that's going on.
And then they use that as a headline. Oh, he doesn't condemn white supremacy.
I heard there's good people on both sides. Very fine people.
Oh, they're all good people. I love people.
So it's It's fascinating to watch because Vivek is becoming more and more of my guy. Donald Trump is still the man. He's still the man of the hour. This is his election. This is his to win or lose. But Vivek, oh man, I'm excited for him. He's got a bright future. I do want to see him lead America. I want to see him oh man, I want to see him go places because I do think that in many ways Vivek can be the future of America. Vivek had a speech in his very beginning when he started running saying that make America great again. I believe it went like this. Make America great again was the start of movement. He's going to finish the movement. And that's what I like about him because not just, I don't see him as a replacement for Donald Trump. I see him as a successor for Donald Trump. In the same way that a lot of people looked at Ron DeSantis in 2022 and said, that's the next guy. I think it's Vivek. I think it's interesting that he came out of left field, kind of the same way that Donald Trump did. Businessman, rose up through the ranks. Basically, Donald Trump came to power on X. He's doing it through YouTube, which I think is fascinating because he's speaking directly to the audience, me and you, and our audience here. And he is making waves. It might not be in 2024, but down the road, his future is bright. And I'm going to be backing him. I'm going to be supporting him. And after 2024, when we see Donald Trump or 2025, when we see Donald Trump inaugurated, I do think that he's got a place, even as the head of the RNC. I think that might be a great place for him. He's set himself up to be a great replacement for that one lady who's done nothing for Republicans. I want to see him in a big position, and then I want to see him in power in 4 years after this.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, he is the successor of Donald Trump. And, you know, he's just not an empty suit. And that's one thing we've gotten from politicians for so many years. I mean, even the Republicans in the early 2000s or Democrats during the Obama era, it's just anytime you hear a politician speak, it's just a man in an empty suit. They don't really connect with you and help you understand the corruption. And I think that's one thing that Donald Trump has sparked is the anti-corruption politician, somebody that's going to actually face that, because we've always just had politicians that embrace it. You know, it's a great point where we're at currently as far as the American movement. I think we have some solid leadership now. Can we fight the money from the elites? Can we fight the attacks? Can we wake some people up to get them away from the globalist elite movement? Because I really think that's where a lot of our issues lie is fixing the culture, because politics is downstream from culture. So once I think you go fix culture and elevate them and elevate what's necessary there, that'll transcend into political success. And that's I think that's where we're currently at. So hopefully Vivek can make it, but we're gonna get into some wokeness here. You like wokeness, Micah? That's what I heard.
I love it. It's my favorite thing on earth. I'm out there waving the trans flag, gay flag, and I don't know, hiring a whole bunch of diverse gay women. You know, put a chick in it and make her gay and lay.
Yeah,
lame
and black.
And, of course, it has to be.
Yeah, it's not woke if you're not black.
Oh yeah,
or trans.
And she's definitely, all characters have to be stronger than all the men. They got to show up in every single way.
No men, actually.
Even better. And if there is a man in it, he has to be the villain.
Oh,
but he's also weak.
Very weak. Well, Star Wars. If you guys are Star Wars fans, sorry, but if you're Star Wars fans, you might be sorry about this. So Obaid Chinoy, I forget what her first name is, but Obaid Chinoy, she is a Pakistani feminist activist. You gotta love modern day feminism. But anyway, she is creating and taking on the Star Wars franchise. Disney handed over the franchise for $67 billion. Now, most Star Wars fans are probably woke, right? Like true dedicated Star Wars fans, or not woke, but they're probably not paying attention.
I think that Star Wars fans before, was it 2014, were probably pretty normal. If you're still a Star Wars fan, then you're sipping the Kool-Aid.
You're a Star Wars fan of the Lucas films, like the original George Lucas movies, but once Disney bought it, kind of went down from there.
It went downhill because I've actually never seen Star Wars, but from everything that everyone's ever told me about it is Luke Skywalker and Anakin Darth Vader. They 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 are the archetypal of evil and redemption of a father figure. And I know that George Lucas was a student of Joseph Campbell, the guy who came up with the idea of the hero's journey. And so I think a lot of people love that aspect, but I think with this is one of the reasons why I don't watch very many movies anymore. I think pre 2015 things were fine to watch, but everything past that has just sucked. There has not been a good movie because nothing follows the idea of a man finding himself and becoming strong, getting a woman, and defending himself and everything around him. We haven't seen that, and I, like I said, I have not watched Star Wars and I haven't watched any of the new stuff, but from everything that I've heard from everyone else around me, new Star Wars is all about the degradation of masculinity while promoting toxic femininity, as well as a whole bunch of other nonsense, woke SJW nonsense ideas. And I think it is the epitome of the sickness inside of our deep fried corn dogs. They're deep fried butter. Will they revolt and finally wake up and say, hey, why'd you take away the one thing good in my life? Star Wars. As a kid, I love Star Wars. As a young adult, I love Star Wars. I do actually enjoy it because I think this can be a gateway to people waking up. So I always talk a little bit about being an accelerationist. I actually welcome this. I have no connection to Star Wars, so I don't really care if they destroy the franchise, but I welcome them to put in as many identity politics and as much just garbage as they possibly can, because the average person, the average normie, the average Joe Schmo who says, I love Star Wars, but I'm not really a big fan of the last however many they made. I think this will cause them to wake up because they go, hey, what happened to my entertainment? Because I actually know a couple people who did wake up because they told me how bad, how trashy all entertainment has been. I know a whole bunch of people who've actually kind of pulled out of kind of leftism because, or even just out of being asleep because everything that they loved was taken away from them. Superheroes all suck. Marvel sucks. Star Wars sucks. Indiana Jones sucks. All of these amazing franchises have been destroyed by this woke ideology, and so I do believe that this can be a vehicle to wake people up, because if they see how far it's gone, I hope that they're smart enough to actually see what the problem is.
To permeate that patriarchy,
She
that
is there
power
on the
structure,
left,
and
far
is that a part of the calculation of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Not you, just not.
I want to focus on that term.
Point taken. Point taken.
Say that again.
I want to focus on that term a little bit. Imagine it's the other way around. I love making women uncomfortable.
Yeah, I always love reversing the rules. You do the same thing with color. Like you take a headline and it says, black man, did something. You reverse it with white man. It never goes both ways. You can only say it one way.
Yeah, so that phrase, if it was uttered by a man, would be Weinstein-esque. It would be he would be lauded as the next Jeffrey Epstein. That is the woke mind virus. I think that I like actually focusing sometimes on this type of stuff because it is the battlefield for people's hearts. It's the battlefield for people's souls, because people who aren't focusing on politics focus on this. And I hope that they're going to be able to be smart enough to realize, hey, we're being attacked, we're being destroyed, and our way of life is being eroded by a Pakistani woman who likes making men feel uncomfortable.
Well, I have a solution. Base Boys is going to raise the capital, and we are going to make our own Star Wars with all men.
Oh, yeah.
All men. But-
boys.
But all kidding aside, you said something a moment ago before we head out on the first episode of the year is, does culture war stuff like this culturally, or sorry, let me rephrase that. Does the culture stuff like this, is it a distraction? Is this what they want us to be distracted on? Or do we have to be focused on these issues? Do we have to be focused on the fact that you've got a bunch of clearly un-American, clearly, it's not that you're un-American. It's the more the fact that you don't really share that traditional American ideology. But we see these people that just destroy everything. They put their social justice warrior stamp on everything. They're tampering with culture. They make it hard to watch sports anymore because BLM is painted all over the field. Are these things a distraction, or should we just be focused on just the sole political arena? Because a moment ago I said, and I believe this, that politics is downstream from culture, and I think if you fix the culture, that can transcend into solid policy that moves the country forward. What do you think?
I don't think you understand how profound that question is. Or maybe you do, that's why you're asking it. Okay.
You need to phone a friend.
I need to phone a friend. So, do you remember in 2020 when they took away our sports and every single person was bending the knee, and we basically saw everyone get locked inside? Everyone became a political advocate for something. I'm going to extrapolate that idea out to Star Wars and sports and many other different things like that. It's not a hidden fact that Batman is one of my favorite characters. When I went to go see the Batman movie, I took some friends who are not very political. And there's a line from the Batman movie where I think it was Catwoman said, all these rich white men. After the movie, my friend's like, that was kind of off-putting. He's not involved in politics at all. He does his own thing. He's a firefighter. He's just living his own life. He's just a normal guy who doesn't focus on anything politics. He's moderately conservative, but not really. Even he was like, that was really weird. I do see a way for people to wake up to this, because I don't expect most people to be able to fight the slings and arrows of understanding what Vivek is saying, understanding what Donald Trump is saying, being so caught up in the weeds of understanding what's going on geopolitically. But people do respond to the fact